Hey everybody, thanks so much for tuning in to Brent and Friends, Nonsense and Trends, to our latest episode. And I have a really special guest with us here today, Danny Hoefelmann. He is a good friend of mine. And Danny, thanks so much, buddy, for being here, dude. Super excited to talk to you, buddy. And this is going to be a good one. Stick around. All right, everybody. Well, welcome back to Brent and Friends, Nonsense and Trends with my dear friend, become a good friend over the last several months, Danny Hoefelmann. And Danny is actually, you are the producer to Brent and Friends.
I'm the behind the scenes usually.
You're the behind the scenes usually guy. And I wanted to invite you to the front row for this episode that I've really been wanting to do for a long time. And I call this episode, Do You Have Any Glue? And I don't know why I have this need to just name episodes things that are super conspicuous. I don't know why I do that.
So we work in analogies and parables and storytelling.
Yeah, storytelling is so much fun. And talking about the I guess the idea of glue, do you have any glue, and the reason why I wanted you to be on the show, Danny, is because I believe it's incredibly important in any aspect of your life to acknowledge the fact that there are other people that kind of help hold things together for you. Okay. And for those of you who are operating throughout life as that kind of lone wolf kind of guy, man, more power to you if that's your thing, but it's a lonely road, and often it's a short one, or actually, as a matter of fact, often it's kind of a long one because you end up burning a lot of bridges, and a lot of times you end up overcommitting to that process of doing things totally on your own. And then I think that over time, you'll probably end up wishing, oh my gosh, I should have probably embraced relationships while I had the opportunity, because now I lack those relationships and I wish I had them. And so with that being said, and how it can really be applicable to my show and my audience, whether we're talking about a Medicare client or an insurance client or a producer in the business, or even just anybody that's in my family, it's really important to understand that I want you folks, my listening viewers, to know that there is somebody behind the scenes that is literally holding this whole entire show together. And you guys, it ain't me. I've had so many people come to me and say, hey, Brent, your podcast is really cool, man, and that's great. You have really good equipment. And I'm like, dude, that's not my equipment, and they're like, man, it's really good setup, man. You edited it really cool. I'm like, I didn't edit that. And they're like, what? And I'm like, you guys, I have a producer who does all this stuff for me. He handles everything. He's absolutely awesome. His name is Danny Hoefelmann. And so before I really get into kind of the meat and potatoes, can you maybe in a minute and a half, maybe tell us how you even just got into this business?
So I was in sales before this. So right out of high school, did, worked in a factory, thought I would stay there. That was about as big as my mind thought. Got laid off, realized that you're not in control of your own job. So I went to sales thinking, hey, I'll do that because that can take me anywhere. Did that, did door to door, did corporate sales. All of it kind of led me to, I don't know if I want to do this anymore because I'm not passionate about what I'm selling. Got into video because I came across a guy who was making vlogs, and I was like, can I help you? And he was like, sure. Do you know about these people? And just because I understood the reference, it was like, yeah, let's do something together. So we started off making, corporate testimonials and things like that.
Were you familiar with media though, going into that?
I was familiar with marketing.
Okay.
And I watched a lot of YouTube. That was about it.
Okay.
So I'm not a film school person. I'm someone who is really freaking good at just figuring things out if I want to do something.
Cool.
So
right. That's good.
YouTube is college at this point in my eyes. If it's not YouTube, there are master classes. There are different things that you can take to really figure out anything you want to do. Mm-hmm. So I got involved with that, and essentially it was one of those things where we were like, hey, you guys should all do a podcast, just because we knew it was kind of something that was coming around. And everyone was like, well, what's the ROI? And I was like, so we started one for my previous business partner, and essentially over that first year, I think we had 86 guests in year one. And what that did for us was I looked at every leader in the community that I was like, I want to meet with them, but no one wants to go to coffee. So now I can reach out to you and say, hey, I love what you're doing with X, Y, and Z. I'm the producer for this show. Can we feature you? And it flipped the script. So we got to actually talk with a ton of people. And by the end of year 1, we didn't cold call. So it really just allowed us to build relationships with lots of different individuals. And then a little over a year ago, I left that business. But because I had built so many relationships within that, that was one of those times that I got to look at it and be like, all right, I've lone wolfed a lot of things in my life. This can't be one of them. And I reached out to different leaders of different things who I had, become like genuine friends with through that time.
And had respect for, probably. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I was like, hey, by the way, I'm not here anymore. I'm going to do this on my own. And they were like, great, let's start. Yeah. And it gave me the confidence to accidental entrepreneur. Like I didn't intend to go do this on my own, but
that happens sometimes.
And it's been the best thing ever. Like I didn't realize I needed it. It's been hard, but it's been great.
And if I can even share through the process of you being an entrepreneur, man, I mean, I've seen you producing my podcast. I've seen you become a friend. I've seen your wife just like quit her job and be like, hey, I'm going to be like mama and assistant to daddy full time, right?
Yep.
Which is, dude, like that's huge. Like, I mean, I saw, when your wife showed up to like, when we've had some meetings and your wife is there and she's like lighting up like a Christmas tree because I could just tell that she just loves being engaged. That is cool, man. I mean, that's super exciting to me, which actually, as a matter of fact, can really tie into some of the main meat of what I wanted to discuss today is, I'm sure you've seen a significant value in just your wife being around helping you with your business.
Yes.
Right? And I've seen the same on my end with my wife helping me with my company. It's been really huge for me. And I am a very firm believer, and this might sound incredibly pretentious. Please excuse me for sounding pretentious, but I am a believer in do what you do best and hire out the rest.
Yeah.
I don't. First and foremost, frankly, I would not have time to produce my own podcast. Matter of fact, you were asking me for just like artwork cover. You were like, hey, Brent, I asked you for artwork cover 3 weeks ago, and I still haven't gotten that yet.
Yeah, we started off with you being in charge of more of it than not. And then it took about a month to be like, hey, can I just take over? Like, I want to charge you a little bit more, and then I'm just going to do it.
Right. And so I think it's incredibly important for everybody out there to know that, at least me, and this isn't a brag, but I am so a fan of the idea of just empowering and embracing that people are good at things and saying, I'm really happy to always be engaged at being the person that I am, being good at what I'm good at, and trying to focus on those things as much as I can. And I want to bring you in to go be good at this. And I want to bring you in to go be good at this. And you come in and you go be good at this. And I am also... I am the type of person who, there's that saying, it takes money to make money, but I have a different version that I use. I feel like it takes spending money to find out what doesn't work. And so some people might look at that from a pessimistic perspective of saying, if you spent money to find out what that doesn't work, doesn't that mean you just lost money? And I'm like, I lost money, but I gained knowledge.
You paid tuition.
I paid tuition.
It's tuition. That's all it is.
I paid tuition. Gosh, I love that. I'm going to start using that. So I paid tuition towards understanding a process better. And if I have to spend money on having someone help me with something and then it doesn't work, it's better than me going and doing that something, realizing that it doesn't work, and then all of these other things that I'm good at got neglected. There are still reasons that I can think of a million reasons to always bring people in to support me in my life. I'm a big believer in that. And so, man, I mean, you share what you feel like you want to share, but you have a really, really awesome story to tell as far as, I guess, maybe filling in some of the gaps of the short story you just told us and what your experience was when you didn't have people maybe believing in you the way they should have and didn't have people allowing you to provide the support that you could provide. I have some similar stories, but I want to hear from you what kind of an impact that had on you and how it changed you as a person, going from being someone who kind of was trampled on a little bit. You could share however much you want to, and how it has changed you as a person now and what your outlook on business is now as a result of that.
Yeah. Well, and I think it goes back to like you talked about, like some people prefer to be the lone wolf. Some people from the get-go kind of understand the benefit of working with people, working with a team.
Yeah.
And that has taken me like, I'm 31, I think. 31 now.
I think you are. Yeah.
I have to like think about
so.
that. After like 21, I just stopped caring. But essentially, like, it wasn't until this last year that I really started to embrace that. And that has been with things within like my mental health, things with like, I think more of us than not have an ego to say like, I'll get help, you know, once I'm in a little bit better spot so I don't look stupid being in this spot. And it's the same thing with physical fitness. Like I'll hire a personal trainer or I'll go to the gym when I feel a little bit better so that I don't look out of place at the gym, but you don't look better unless you go to the gym. So it's one of those same things. And for me, like, whether it was, again, just going through school, I was a loner because in my head that was just what I wanted to be. And then when you work in a factory, there's not a lot to really like, yes, you're working as a team, but for the most part, it's everyone for themselves. And the camaraderie is crap talking on the radio. Like that's something I got very good at, you know, and I took pride in that. And I thought my brain was like, best case scenario, I will run this factory one day. And then what that turned into was I was given a gift where basically someone had started to introduce me to the book Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And he talked about own the ladder, don't just climb the ladder, because you can be climbing and then that ladder's gone and look what you got. Nothing.
Right.
And it's like, okay, that sucks. So I had just read that book. And then after being there for almost 5 years, they announced, hey, we're shutting the plant down in 60 days. And I was like, okay, like that sucks. I was on night shift. Night shift ended at the end of the week. And I was like, oh, but I didn't have like fear because it was kind of already, I kind of put my brain into motion of like, I can do these other things because well, I guess the part I'm leaving out, the guy that introduced me to that book, he was coming down here to Arizona to do pest control sales. And again, I never thought I had people skills. Like, I think I've had an ability to kind of read people, but never like sales people skills.
And that's really interesting to me though, because from the very second that I met you, I'm like, wow, I really enjoy talking to this guy.
Yeah. But
so it's funny that you say that, but you have mentioned that you've mentioned that you've changed quite a bit in the last year.
The last 7 years, like I moved to Arizona 7 years ago, and it's been a constant growth. And that's not all been forward growth. Like I'm someone who, small, brief thing about me, we don't have to go deep, but in the last 5 years, I've completely rebuilt my life. I've been married for over 12 years now. I have 2 kids, and I was the guy that had the perfect, on paper, perfect life.
Yeah.
I had the house, the cars, the beautiful wife, 2 kids. I was suicidal 5 years ago and tanked my life. And through that, I spent a year in Texas living with my sister and had to rebuild. And through that, like, you get humbled and you realize like, hey, this lone wolf stuff literally led me to be suicidal. Like I can't do it all on my own. I had to ask for help. That was like a huge step for me. Yeah. And then basically we hit a point where it was like, I don't want to do this anymore. Like I'm going to go get us back to Arizona. And I came out here on my own, but there was a team that I was selling alarms door to door. That was where I had gotten back.
Yeah, I remember this part.
So I came back here and I hated it, but I was really good with people at that point. And I understood principles of like kind of how to build a team, how to bring people up. I like personal development. That's one of the reasons that I got into, I want to produce podcasts for people because I want to put more good in the world. Yeah. And that's kind of my thing is, as I went through that whole process, I learned like, if I don't ask for help, like nothing's going to happen. So I had to go to the leaders of the, like not only asking my sister for help and going through that, going to the leaders of that business and saying, hey, give me another chance. Let me do these things and I'll put them into place. And when I did that and they actually empowered me to do it, it worked great.
And that's, but I want you to keep going, but here's what's important is what you just said was when they empowered you. Yes. Huge, dude. Yeah. Absolutely huge. I feel like I use the term empowered too much for most people because I use it more than most people. And I'm like, people are probably sick and tired of me using the phrase empowered. But that's big for me. Please continue.
Well, for me, it was as I transitioned out of that job, I did well enough to get the family back to Arizona, and we were officially like, okay, we're on solid ground. Let's keep going again. And that was when I got involved with another media company, and it was literally, I was employee number 1, and it was really cool. And from the beginning, it was like, hey, this person funds, I do a lot of the behind the scenes work, and like
you're doing the hands-on stuff and they were the money.
Yeah. And that was kind of the initial agreement, but it was like free run to like, hey, I got out of sales, so my motivation to not go back to sales and make sure that thing succeeded was so freaking high. Little did I know, like obviously I was still in sales. I like to, but I like to talk about this. I like to create content and do these different things. And anyway, over that first year and a half, it was the most I was able to just like, hey, I think we should do this. Hey, if you know how to make it happen, make it happen. Cool. Yeah. And then by the end of that, it was like, hey, yeah, I think we should do this. That like all these barriers came in, and I was like, I started to realize, I'm like, oh, I'm someone who actually like, I want to be in charge a little bit, like, and it kind of tweaked those things.
You're being told what to do a lot.
Yeah, but here's the thing. I was also running 6 or 7 different podcasts, not to mention I just listen to them all the time. But a lot of the people that I work with are in personal growth space. And they might be mindset coaches, business coaches, life coaches, different things, but they're all talking about consistently growing. One of them is a girl named Lindsay Schwartz, and she runs Powerhouse Women. Awesome brand. She empowers a lot of people.
You do her podcast, right? Yeah. I've seen a little bit of it. It's great.
Yeah. So I did it back at that company when I left. Eventually she left that, and now I still take care of it. But her biggest thing is we are not meant to do business and life alone. And that was something that like I really had to embrace because...
Dude, I need to have her on my show sometime.
Dude, she's awesome. Oh. But it really is like, we can go so far on our own, or we can actually put out there like, hey, this is what I need, and allow people to help you. And initially when I left that last business, I didn't think I was going to start a freaking company. I wanted to start my own podcast and start putting out good in the world. Yeah. And then realize like, I can either put out content on my own, or I can embrace 12 to 25 other brands
and help give them their content, platform.
And then we're reaching 10 times the people.
Yeah.
So even my mission of my company is the good in media. And essentially I only wanted to work with people if they were making a difference in the world via empowering people, teaching people, inspiring people, motivating, like giving them something that allows them to say, I can make your life better in this way.
Yeah.
That's who I align with.
Not TMZ style stuff.
Yeah. And I didn't want to do comedy podcasts and things like that. It was really just like, okay, how do I help put more good in the world? Because through my entire mental health battle, all the different things, biggest thing I came away with is people allow bad moments to ruin whole days. And no matter how bad your day is, there's some good in it. There's always some good in it. So allowing it to always be able to kind of refresh that. And that's, I don't know, I've tangented way off your original question.
No.
But
those
are
awesome
the things
stuff
that like I actually think about a lot. And like, you want to talk about glue, and like, I'm very grateful to have been able to work on this podcast with you and kind of help develop it and see it grow. And like, I'm excited to see where it will go, because I really think you're just kind of still really figuring out like, how do we maximize this? What do we want from it? And like, what do we go? But it's been really cool to see like, basically getting to be the behind the scenes of these different things just puts me in a seat where like, I'm always learning from you. And I'm learning from the other people around. Mm-hmm. So it's just fun to know that like when I go to work now, this is all a part of it, like.
Well, I love when you had said that, two things I want to not forget to say, but one, you had said that, rather than putting out your own content, you could help give people the ability, 10 different shows to put out content, building multiple platforms. Back when I was, I would probably say through my early 20s and up into my later 20s, well, mid 20s, 27-ish, I had not yet grown accustomed to this idea that, for those of you listening, pardon me if I offend you, I'm a massive believer in God and Jesus, and so I believe that he's working in my life. So anyways, there had been multiple occasions, and I mean big monumental occasions in my life where I had felt like God had really used me for something. And then right when it was about ready to like have its moment to shine, God would be like, okay, cool, I'm handing this off to that person now. And I'm like, what? And that had happened so many times in my life. And in the beginning, I was like, God, I'm really frustrated about this. I really freaking hate that you just did that right now. Like, you done did it again. Gosh dang it. Like, you did it again. You helped me build something up. And then all of a sudden, right when it's about ready to go and be awesome, it gets handed off to somebody. And then I eventually got to this point where I had started to see like sprinkles of moments where people would come up to me and they'd be like, hey, what you're doing is really great. What you're doing is really great. What you're doing is really great. And I started going, I didn't even do those things alone. Like, man, I had people helping me with those things, and I'm not super pumped on just getting the credit for those things, actually. I started to actually realize that the idea of that situation, or the idea of that idea or that process or that thing, the idea of it being good and being impactful was way a bigger deal to me than me getting credit for it. Mm-hmm. I started to realize that all of these processes that we're doing good were just a much bigger deal to me. And I started to realize I'm actually totally cool with not getting the credit for these things. Actually, as a matter of fact, the process of me getting credit for these things actually really made me, I don't want to say uncomfortable, but it made me realize that that's not what I wanted. I actually didn't want the credit for those things. And I look back on those things and I realized that I think ahead of time, God knew that it wasn't going to be something that was going to end up being fulfilling to me. And he just needed me to learn that through time. And so I kind of realized I had a conversation where I was talking with a really good friend of mine, and through our discussion, I guess together, conglomerately, we had come up with this idea where we had said, you know, I didn't intend for this show to be a biblical reference show, but anyways, there's this idea of, you know, a lot of people know the parable of Jesus, and he goes out on the boat and they're out in the sea, and he tells the wave, the ocean, the sea, he's like, hey, sea, you need to chill out, calm the heck down, right? And the sea obeys, right? And there's one person in that story that no one ever talks about. Ever. They were on a boat, and at some point in time, someone built that boat. You're never going to talk about that person. You're never going to talk about the person who built that boat. That story wouldn't have happened if Jesus wasn't on a boat out in the middle of the sea. Someone had to build that boat, but you're never talking about the person who built that boat. And me and my friend had come to this conclusion of, we had both together decided, like, we totally enjoy being boat builders. We totally enjoy being this person who just helps build platforms for other people to just go shine and go do their thing and to go impact people. I love that. I love it. And so what you were saying was helping other people have these platforms where they're impacting people. It really resonated with me, because I have, over the years as an adult, really I feel like I've kind of taken on that same belief or mindset. And there was something else I was totally going to say, and I'll probably remember it in a minute.
I remember the thing that I forgot when I trailed off on my last answer.
Sweet.
So going back to that, when I brought it back to glue and then forgot the glue. So the part of the glue that I liked, and one of the reasons what I was saying I was grateful for being a part of your podcast too, is, first of all, let me just comment on what you said. I like the boat thing and the guy being in the background, because I also think it's very worthy of recognizing that all of us play roles in bigger pictures that we might not know at the time.
Yeah.
So for the record, we all kind of serve a purpose in these different things.
Yeah.
And we might not know it. On the glue side, it really, to me, is one of those where, like, not only did you come to me because I could help you create something, but I could hold you accountable to it as well. And it's something that we need people in our lives who say, hey, did you get this done?
Yeah.
And our family's usually not the best for that, because they love us and they want to baby us.
Yep.
And I think this is why people invest in coaches. This is why people invest in masterminds. This is why all of these different things happen. And, like, even in the podcast world, most people, like, there are stats out there that say, like, most podcasts never get past episode 12 ever. And the people who actually invest and pay something, they want a return. so they will stick longer. It's just a real thing. Like almost every podcast I have is at least into their 20s. Like, cool. Like that's making progress, you know? So it's one of those things to me that like, it's why I joined a mastermind. I've been in business for a little over a year. We've been, in my eyes, very successful. I have brought my wife home. It's been great. But also, I've ran my business 90% out of my head, which is not scalable whatsoever. You know,
you need
it's
some
literally
help.
the worst.
You need some glue points, man. You really do.
And that's where like I have different friends who are business owners now, and I have, you know, different people who are holding me accountable. Like, hey, by November, we now need systems. We need, and if not a system in place, we need the flow chart of when this happens to this, to this, to this, that now we can build a system around it, you know? But I've had a year to do that. I've also had a year to build a website. Haven't cared. Like, it's one of those things that like, it's super basic, but no one has like forced me to. And I've just, by God's luck and blessing, like been fortunate enough to like build anyway. And I think I just have a reputation for like just being a good dude. And at this level, that's been enough. But now I've actually like, okay, how do I go past that?
Yeah.
I can't do that alone. I need people to help. And this is like the biggest business lesson that like, I don't know. I want to ask you, like, how long were you in business in different capacities before you realized like, oh, I have to delegate this? And even if it's money taken out up front, it allows me to then stay in my zone of genius to keep going bigger.
So I am grateful to say that I learned in a few unique ways. I didn't learn that to my own folly and toil. I learned that because when I got into this business, I was working at a different firm and I was working for somebody else. And that person, if that person was here in this room, he would say, you weren't working for me. You were self-employed. You were working for yourself. So, for example, there would be times where I would say to this person, I'd have a good, successful sales day, and I'd write several policies, and I'd go, wrote you a few policies today, buddy. And he'd go, you wrote me a few policies? As a way of saying, you didn't write me a few policies, you wrote you a few policies, dude. Don't say you wrote it for me, you wrote it for you. I think that was an integrity check from him to me, being like, dude, like, you didn't write those for me, you wrote those for you. That was his way of saying, give yourself some credit. So not every experience I ever had with that person was all bad, but that person, because he really wanted me to, there were certain times where he would want me to maybe feel empowered to being my own self-employed person or whatever. But I was working for him in the sense that I got to a point to where I was a part of the agency. I was a manager. I was a trainer. We were bringing on new agents. I was training them. And there were a lot of times where I was trying to say, hey, I'm training these people. I'm spending my time with them. I'm giving them half the commissions when we write business. I want to build this in a way that I think works. I want to do this, this, and this. No. Okay, but this and this, I'm doing it and it's working. Stop doing that. Don't do that. But it's working. No. And I'm like, dude, like,
yeah,
I don't understand. Like, is this a pride thing? Like this, why do you always have to argue with me? I'm not trying to argue with you. I'm just trying to let you know that these things are working and we're growing and the team's getting better and these things are, you know, and hey, would you mind helping us, you know, spend some money on this and that? No, I'm always spending money on things. I'm not spending money on that. Okay, but no offense, I'm not trying to call you out and I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but you're like the dude who literally owns this company. I don't own this company and I'm spending some money doing these things. Maybe you could help me. No. And it got to a point where I was like, wow, like I felt like the thumb was on me.
Yeah.
And I felt like I was being held down by someone who was not willing to partake. And someone who regularly would rub it in our faces. Here's how much I do for you guys, and here's how much I do for you guys. And it's like, okay, well, that's not actually going to make me feel better about this relationship, you rubbing in my face all the things you do for me.
Well, not to mention, we're building your business.
Not to mention, we're building your business. And so this is your baby. It's your ship. It's your responsibility. So the fact that you're spending money on it, what do you want me like? Do you want a cookie? Like you want like a little award, you want me to like pat you on the back, like good for you, bro. Like, because guess what? At the end of the day, when I leave your company, you're going to keep my book of business and you're going to, and so it was kind of like, so there was some contention there. And through that process, I had seen people that I have an enormous amount of respect for kind of get run over by his process. Now, don't get me wrong. I've known this person since I was a child, and I followed this person into the business because I had an enormous amount of respect for him. And I know that deep down, he's a God-loving person, and I know that there's a lot of integrity there. It may have just been that I wasn't necessarily a good match, and it may have been that maybe he was at a crossroads in his life as far as his personality and maybe some of the things that were going on, and maybe he was just kind of over it and he had checked out. I'm not really sure what it was, but I had seen a lot of people earn favor with him who I saw were not really working very hard, but they were buds with him. And then I had seen people who were some of the hardest working people in this business just get totally taken advantage of and then get run over and be so underappreciated and so underfunded, in the sense that like I had a manager, and she was actually the woman that was above me. So there were the agents, and then there was me. So I was a manager and trainer. And then there was the woman who was like the office and sales manager. She was the big honcho. And then there was the president of the company. And I saw the office manager, who I had more respect for than probably anybody in this business. And I saw her just get beat down to a point to where she was like, I can't get any support with anything. I need new systems. Won't get paid for. I need this. Won't get paid for. Every time there's a problem, it's my fault. Every time there's this, it's my fault. Every time I want to do something good, the answer is no. Every time something bad happens, it's my fault. And then that started trickling down to me, where it was like the same treatment was there. And then I see her kind of break. I see her like spirit really break under the weight of all that. And then I see her leave the company, and then the pressure lands on me, and then I kind of break, and then I left the company. And then when I left that company and decided, I'm going to walk away from my book of business and I'm going to start my own agency, I promised myself that I wouldn't make those same mistakes. So I didn't learn through me making those mistakes that I need to do better. I learned through watching a lot of those things happen and me having to feel the weight of it because someone else wasn't making those decisions. I knew that I would, and I had people that would say to me, I've literally had other agents in this business, they'll say, Brent, you take agents with you out on sales meetings and you give them half the commission, and they're not your employees. They get to keep their book of business. So you take them out, you buy them leads, you train them, you split the business, you split the commissions with them, and then they can just up and leave you tomorrow. And I'm like, yeah. And they go, I've had people go, are you freaking nuts? Like, what?
But I think there's two things with that. And like, one, that's being able to look at it and not have a scarcity mentality that like I'm creating my own competition, because maybe you are, but you're also creating people who are helping to build your company. Wouldn't you want them trained properly?
Exactly.
Like that's a huge, huge deal. And then, well, go, what's your
I was
play on that?
Well, I was going to say what the takeaway from that has been is it's heartwarming. I've literally had agents who have come to me and they've made me cry because they've said, Brent, I would never, ever, ever go do business somewhere else because of how well you've treated me. That like I had an agent say, the idea of me leaving you and going and doing business at another agency, like thinking about it makes me sick to my stomach.
Yeah.
I couldn't do it. And that's kind of what I feel like that creates.
Well, so my question to you was going to be, I think all of these experiences, like I said, there's good in everything. And sometimes being a part of a bad experience is just learning what you don't want. And that's
Right.
the best thing you can do.
Yeah.
So when you're looking at leadership now, having been a part of different things, what do you look at as like what makes a good leader who can actually be like a positive glue of a company at this point?
I think that in any area of business, a good leader is someone who is, if you want to, first and foremost, if you want to be a good leader, listen to Simon Sinek. Right?
Solid point.
Dude, anyways, I mean, he's probably one of the best role models when it comes to leadership you're probably ever going to find. And to one of his points that he makes of, why leaders eat last is if you want to be a good leader, everything that you're doing, I mean, I look at my business and any employees that I have or any agents that I have, I really almost look at them, not through and through, but there's a degree of my relationship with my business that I look at almost as if like the way I would expect from a biblical point of view, a husband looks at his bride. Okay. In everything that I do, it needs to be for the better good of my business, my agents, my employees, my whatever, is that if I am acting in humility and I am sacrificial in the things that I do for the better good of my business, my employees, my agents, my whatever, is, I'm not going to operate my business from a perspective of it's possible for someone to do me wrong. Of course it's possible for someone to do me wrong. Of course it's possible for someone to take advantage of me. But what's more important is that my opportunities and interactions where I am trying to do good for them, where I am engaging with them with respect and love and honor, and I am trying to support them the best I can, as long as there's enough of those to outweigh the possible few opportunities where things could go wrong, it doesn't matter. We win. That's fine. And so, and also in one of our previous episodes, we talked a lot about the whole, you don't have to work all the time. You just have to work hard. And so I have a good transparent relationship with my agents where I'll say, hey man, it's my family time. I'm trying to spend time with my family. Is this something that can wait for tomorrow? But I also have the type of relationship with my agents where I'm very transparent. One of my agents might call me and it might be late in the afternoon and they go, hey, I'm really sorry to bother you, but I'm with a client. And I'll say, let me explain to you how this works. And I'm very transparent. I'll say, when you write business, you make money. When you make money, I make money. When I make money, I get to feed my kids. So if you're out there trying to write business right now, I can step away from what I'm doing and I can try to help you.
Yeah.
Because helping you helps my kids. There's that thread. And so just having integrity, and I have a particular agent that this was a while back, but I had a particular agent that I was dealing with where it was just a personality thing and we were butting heads and clashing a little bit. And I would have those moments where I would look back and I would reflect and I would think to myself, the way I feel about that agent sometimes almost looks like the way my old agency owner may have felt about me, and I don't want to be that guy who treats him poorly. I want to be the guy who shows him more grace, more love, more support. So I'm always trying to reflect outside of myself on how my interactions with my agents and my employees are going. I am constantly telling them thank you. I am constantly telling them good job, constant affirmation, but I have no problem being that person who can step outside the affirmation and say, this and this and this is wrong. I care about you. I appreciate you. Here are the things that you've done well, but here's the things that you've done wrong. We need to fix this. But there are just too many people who they want to be a leader, but they're not encouraging and motivating, and they're not building up. They're saying, hey, here's my example. Just do as I do. And it's do as I do is good only to a point. There has to be a point where you say, hey, so here's what I'm doing. I've got this platform. I'm standing on this platform. So if you're going to do as I do, let me scoot over so you can get on this platform too. Let me try to help you build instead of just saying, just do what I do. Being that person who's saying, I'm going to give a little room so that you can maybe ride off of the structure that I have in place. Mm-hmm. Building support for people. You cannot be a good leader, or you're going to be capped. if you try to just simply set the example and hoping that everyone's going to follow, man, you have to also remember this whole conversation is about the glue, right? There's a lot of people who maybe want to do what you're doing, but they don't have anybody to be their glue. You're going to have to try to be that glue for them. You're going to have to try to be that support person for them. And if you're capped, you can't be greedy. You have to say, look, I told one of my agencies, actually one of my business associates, business partners, Jim Plemons, right? When I'm bringing on new agents, a lot of my brand new agents who are very green, who need a lot of attention, here's the way my business works. If I have an agent and they write a piece of business and I make this much money because they made business, so I make a commission because they made one, right? I could put them directly under my agency and I could make this much commission. Or I could put them under someone else's agency and then that guy gets half that. And I only get half that. I make less money. But I have to look at that agent and I have to say, am I really going to have the time to train, nurture, and make sure that that guy is successful? I might not. Now, I could be greedy right now. Or I could take that agent and I could walk them over and I could go, hey, meet Jim. Mm-hmm. Because it's not, at the end of the day, it is about being a good leader. It's not about being greedy.
But you also understand the bigger picture. Yeah. It's not about like the right now, like this does, it's, if I put these things in place, people will have a better chance of being successful. Therefore, they will last longer and you'll actually have continued success with it. Exactly. So if you're going to build a business in any way that is even going to be mildly successful, you have to look outside yourself. And it's important that you look at each and every single individual that is working with you from a level of integrity that they are a person that needs some building within them as well. Every single person that works with you is their own pillar. You don't want that pillar to be weakened. Every single pillar deserves the opportunity for it to be refined and for it to be polished. And if you're not going to be that now, don't get me wrong. There are certain people in my business that have shown me and proven to me through their actions that they don't have an interest in putting in the work. I can't be your saving grace all the time. I can't be Superman to everybody, right? Nor do I want to be. But what I do want to be is if someone comes to me and says, hey man, I need some glue, I'd like to be able to try to offer that in one way or another. Well, it's being able to have a friendly relationship with the people who you serve and they serve you, but also I can hold you accountable. And I think that it's a conversation that happens up front. And I have to have this with a lot of podcast people I have too. When they start, I've ran my own podcast and I've produced dozens of podcasts. I know how freaking hard it is to stay consistent. Mm-hmm. One of my questions I have to ask people when I'm onboarding and saying we're going to launch this, do I have permission to hold you accountable to make sure that this is getting done? Mm-hmm. Because if you're not committed to it, I don't even want to commit to putting that much effort into you, even if I'm getting paid. Yeah. Because I would rather have something that I can commit to long term and I can see the vision for where people can go. And that's something that I'm very lucky to be able to kind of like, I don't know, I've been around enough that like when I see someone who has something and I'm like, ooh, like I want to see that through. Yeah. And then it sucks for me when I'm like, I can see where this is going. Like I want to go. And then like, I don't think we're going to keep going. And it's like, but you're almost freaking there. Like, come on. Like, seriously. So I want to be able to push people to be like, hey, you're like so close to reaching this point. You're almost there, man. You're going to get through it. And like, I don't know. That's so many things in life. I've had that with a lot of agents in this business where they're trying to build their book of business and they just feel like they're sinking. And I'm like, you don't understand. Like just a few more months, one more annual enrollment period. January is going to roll around. You don't understand the big picture. January is going to roll around. All of a sudden things are going to go and you're going to miss it. You're not going to be there for it if you quit now. And they're like, dude, I'm out. Yeah. And it's like, oh, you know, and that stinks. And you almost feel like you failed them in a way because it's like, maybe I didn't motivate them or encourage them properly. But then you also have to understand that you are not in control of when someone says yes and when someone says no. And you got to be okay with that. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? It is, you know, I've actually gotten to like a comfortable point in my career where I have actually been okay with certain people saying, hey, you know, I've realized that this isn't for me and I'm going to go elsewhere. And I've gotten to a point where I can honestly say to them,
I'm so glad you found something that's going to make you happy.
Yeah.
Holy cow. Like, good luck.
Yeah.
If you ever need anything, we're here.
But it's okay to lose, whether it's clients or friends or anything. If someone says, hey, this is where I'm at, this is what I need.
Right.
Cool. Like, that's okay. And then me losing a client doesn't mean like F that guy. It means, cool, you're going to do your thing. Mm-hmm. I wish you continued success.
Right.
Being able to have that attitude and not be like, uh-oh, like I just lost that little piece of cash flow. It's okay. Mm-hmm. There's so many more people. Like, make sure they have a great experience leaving you.
Yeah.
That way, when they look back, it's okay.
Yeah,
they're still going to be like, hey, I'm not doing that anymore. But if I know someone who needs it, that's the person to do it. Mm-hmm. Being able to have the gratitude for what you learned through the process of whatever you did with them. Because again, even if someone quits because they didn't see success, why didn't they see success? What could I have done to make their experience better? What could I have done to make their project go smoother, make it more successful? Those are all things that I get to learn and take and put into the next phase of whatever the growth of my business is.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Well, the baseball player Ken Griffey Jr., one of the greatest baseball players ever. His father was a baseball player, Ken Griffey. And there was an interview with his father, Ken Griffey, where he had accomplished something pretty big. It wasn't even the point of the reason why this situation is so revered and why it's talked about so much. There was an interview where a reporter was talking to Ken Griffey, and they had said, hey, what was the proudest moment of your baseball career? You did this, you did this, you did this. What was the proudest moment of your baseball career? He said, my proudest moment of my baseball career was when, and this isn't even his career, he said, my proudest moment of my baseball career was when my son hit whatever this home run record and he got inducted into the Baseball Hall of Fame. And then he had said, I owe it all to my father. That was my proudest moment of my baseball career. Was not what he had accomplished, but what his son had accomplished, and he had some part of that. And because it wasn't about him, it was about the bigger picture. And it was a really cool moment, it was pretty neat. So, it's the glue that really kind of holds us all together and binds us and helps us support one another is super, super important. And I appreciate you just being here, man, and kind of sharing your heart and talking about this. And I actually think it's really neat because as we continue to move on throughout our episodes, it's going to be really great for people to watch our episodes and know that Danny Hoefelmann is behind the cameras right now, just bouncing around back there and tweaking little things, and you guys don't even see him because he's back there doing his thing, and then when this drops, you guys just need to know that when this drops on Facebook and drops on YouTube and drops on Spotify and all that stuff, the night before I'm getting an email from Danny going, all right, Brent, it's dropping. And it wasn't even me who did it. It was this guy. Cause I wouldn't be able to do any of this without you, man. And it's really cool. I know that we got the same heart in that. So appreciate you, bro.
Appreciate it. I appreciate you trusting me with it, and I hope the cameras are still running since I'm over here. So.
Thanks so much, guys, for tuning in. Hey, and if you guys ever need anything, reach out to Danny Hoefelmann for any media, anything. He's great at commercials, great at podcasts, great at anything, even if it's just advice, consultation. Thanks so much, guys, for tuning in to Brent and Friends, Nonsense and Trends. Again, Danny, thanks so much for being here. We'll see you guys next time.